What would you do if someone you trusted walked into your home, uninvited, and declared they'd take over the one space you'd poured your heart into creating? That's where my story begins, in a quiet suburban house where dreams of motherhood were just starting to take shape. My name is Sarah, and I was 8 months pregnant, my heart a mix of excitement and nerves as I prepared for my first child. The nursery was my sanctuary, a place I'd spent months designing, every detail chosen with love. Pale pink walls, a crib with white linens, a mobile of stars that spun softly above. It was perfect, or so I thought, until she showed up. My mother-in-law, Margaret, had always been a force of nature, opinionated, polished, and never one to shy away from giving advice. She'd been dropping hints about the nursery for weeks, comments about how modern babies needed bold colors or how my taste was too soft. I brushed it off, chalking it up to her personality. But one Tuesday afternoon, as I was folding tiny onesies, I heard the front door creak open. No knock, no call, just the sound of heels clicking on my hardwood floors. "Sarah, darling." Margaret's voice rang out, sharp and bright, like she was announcing her arrival at a gala. I froze, clutching a onesie to my chest. She strode into the nursery, a whirlwind in a tailored blazer, her eyes scanning the room like a general surveying a battlefield. "Oh, this won't do," she said, her lips pursing. "This nursery is far too quaint. I've decided I'm going to redesign it. Something bold, something worthy of my grandchild." I stood there, stunned, my heart pounding. This was my home, my baby's room. Every brushstroke on those walls, every stuffed animal on the shelf was a piece of me. I'd spent hours painting, sewing, dreaming of the moments I'd share with my child in this space. And now Margaret, uninvited, was declaring it inadequate? "Margaret," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but this nursery is exactly how I want it." She waved a hand dismissively, already pulling out her phone to show me swatches of garish red wallpaper and sleek, cold furniture that looked more suited to a corporate office than a baby's room. "Nonsense," she said. "You're young, Sarah. You don't know what's best. I've raised 3 children, and I know what a nursery needs. Trust me, you'll thank me later." My blood boiled. I wanted to scream, to tell her to leave, but I bit my tongue. She was my husband's mother, after all, and Tom was already stressed at work. I didn't want to start a war. So I forced a smile and said, "Let's talk about this later, okay? I'm a bit tired." Margaret raised an eyebrow, but left, promising to return with samples the next day. I closed the door behind her, my hands shaking. This wasn't over. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Tom was fast asleep, oblivious to the storm brewing in my heart. I couldn't let Margaret take over. This nursery wasn't just a room, it was a promise to my baby, a space where they'd feel safe and loved. But how could I stop her without causing a rift in the family? The answer came the next morning, unexpectedly, in the form of an unlikely ally. Her name was Lila, a neighbor I barely knew. She was in her 60s, with a warm smile and a habit of leaving homemade cookies on her doorstep. That morning, she knocked, holding a small knitted blanket for the baby. "I saw your mother-in-law yesterday," she said, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Looked like she was on a mission. "Everything okay?" I don't know why, but I spilled everything: Margaret's intrusion, her plans to redesign the nursery, my fear of losing control. Lila listened, her face softening with understanding. "Here's the thing," she said, leaning in. "I've dealt with my share of overbearing in-laws. You don't fight them with anger, you fight them with heart. Show her what this room means to you, not just to her grandchild. Make it impossible for her to ignore your love." Her words struck a chord. I've been so focused on defending my space that I hadn't thought about sharing its story. The next day, when Margaret arrived armed with fabric swatches and a smug smile, I was ready. "Before you start, I said, my voice calm but firm. "I want to show you something." I led her into the nursery and began to talk. I pointed to the pink walls, explaining how I'd chosen the shade because it reminded me of the sunrise I'd seen the day I found out I was pregnant. I showed her the mobile, each star hand-painted to represent a wish for my baby health, joy, courage. I pulled out a small journal from the shelf, filled with letters I'd written to my unborn child. Dreams I'd poured onto the page. Margaret's face changed as I spoke. Her eyes, usually so sharp, softened. She touched the crib, her fingers lingering on the soft linens. "I didn't realize," she said quietly. "I thought you were just decorating. I didn't know it meant this much." For the first time, I saw vulnerability in HOA woman who'd raised her children in a different time, who thought she was helping in her own way. But the twist wasn't over. As we stood there, the door opened, and Tom walked in, home early from work. He froze, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" he asked. Before I could answer, Margaret spoke. "I owe your wife an apology," she said, her voice steady but emotional. "I came here thinking I knew best, but I was wrong. This nursery, it's perfect. It's full of love." I was floored. Margaret, the woman who never backed down, was admitting she'd overstepped. Tom looked at me, then at his mother, and a slow smile spread across his face. "Mom, you're always welcome here," he said, "but Sarah's got this. She's going to be an incredible mother." Margaret nodded, and for the first time, I saw respect in her eyes not just for me, but for the mother I was becoming. In the weeks that followed, something shifted. Margaret didn't stop being her bold, opinionated self, but she stopped trying to control the nursery. Instead, she started asking questions about my plans, my hopes, the stories behind each detail. One day, she even brought over a small, hand-stitched pillow with my baby's initials, a peace offering that made my heart swell. Lila, too, became a regular visitor, her quiet wisdom a steady presence as I prepared for motherhood. When my daughter, Emma, was born, the nursery was ready not just as a room, but as a testament to the love that had fought for it. Margaret held her granddaughter for the first time in that space, her eyes misty as she looked around. "You were right," she whispered. "This is exactly what she needs." Looking back, I realized something profound. It wasn't just about protecting my nursery, it was about claiming my voice as a mother. Margaret's intrusion, as infuriating as it was, forced me to stand up, to show the world what my love could build. And in the end, it wasn't just a room I defended. It was the promise of a home where my daughter would always know she was cherished.